All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about some potentially bad news for Errol Spence Jr. and a lot of other PBC fighters who, according to Dan Rafael and Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated, may be facing a very long layoff because of deals related to the PBC. There's also a little bit of shining light in what was shared as well. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys again for checking me out, talking boxing with me. In this particular subject, we are going to be talking about the future of Errol Spence Jr. or the near future for Errol Spence Jr. and also fighters like Deontay Wilder, Gervonta Davis, and a slew of others. But specifically Errol Spence, because I think that it may affect him potentially the most. And that is a long layoff that really has a significant chance of taking place because of what has been said by Dan Rafael, formerly of ESPN, one of the better boxing writers that there are, and definitely most knowledgeable people around the boxing world. And also Chris Mannix, who is a commentator. He's a commentator for The Zone, but he's also a writer for Sports Illustrated. Not always been as happy with Chris Mannix, but got to share the information with you because it's relevant to what we're going to be looking at next year in the boxing world. So before I get into the details of it, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And to all of the long time subscribers and longtime supporters of the channel, thank you guys so much for what you do. It is absolutely wonderful. And thank you to Barbara D for the big support in the super thanks yesterday. And also Jeffrey Miller, thank you very much for your support yesterday and the videos that we did yesterday, sponsoring those videos. Really, again, you guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and how much I thank you. But let's get into this, because if you're a fan of Errol Spence Jr. or you've watched and paid attention to Errol Spence Jr.'s career, it has been one of a lot of triumphs. One loss, it was definitely not a good loss, not a good situation for him, except for money wise. And that was when he lost in a one-sided fight against Terrence Crawford. But one of the things that have really contributed, at least in my opinion, to his career and limiting his career has been the amount of the length of the layoffs that Errol Spence Jr. has had throughout his career, from people not wanting to fight him early in his career, like Keith Thurman, who wouldn't give him the title shot. And then after he gets the title shot and wins it against Kell Brook, he doesn't get the fight against Sean Porter right away. And then he doesn't get the fight with Danny Garcia right away. And then he has a car accident after he finally gets the Sean Porter fight. And then he's about to fight Manny Pacquiao, and then he gets a torn retina. And so he has to take more time off before he gets to fight Yordenis Ugas. And after he fights Yordenis Ugas, then you have another really long layoff of 13 months or 15 months before he can get the contract and all that stuff sorted out with Terrence Crawford. So now there's a chance that he may even have a longer layoff. And this is those layoffs and the amount of times these guys are fighting in the PBC. I mean, it's been a lot of these guys have been fights are few and far between for a lot of the top guys at the PBC. That could be because of, the money they make in the fight, but also the number of fight dates that they have on the network that they were on in Showtime. So that problem could very well be exacerbated by what is being said by Dan Rafael and Chris Mannix, who have said, well, Dan Rayfield says that number one, Al Heyman is not interested at all in a deal with DAZN, but it's interesting how he said it, because he's like, well, I don't know if they wanted an offer with him or they didn't want to make an offer to him, but he doesn't want to go to DAZN. And then Chris Mannix adds to that what he's under the impression that a deal with Amazon Prime is a long way off. And that's the exact words that he used, that it is a long way off, and that there's been nothing substantial offered by Amazon Prime for PBC to make these fights, right? So what's the truth of the matter? The truth of the matter, looking at what they're saying, is that they don't know, right? And however, do I believe that the Amazon Prime is something that could be very real, and that is a negotiation that really could go on? Yeah, absolutely. However, I don't know when exactly those guys are going to be able to roll that out. Now, I did hear some other things from sources that are close to the PBC that have said, look, man, these guys knew what was going on for several years, and Al Heyman already has a deal in place. Leonard Ellerby is saying, like, not breaking a sweat, saying, hey, man, wait till you see the rollout. So, but if it takes a while for that deal to solidify, right, and for those guys to be able to be ready to announce it, you very well could wind up having longer layoffs, continue to have layoffs for Errol Spence, whether it is going right to a Terrence Crawford rematch, which my understanding is the PBC, for a multitude of reasons, really does not want, or whether it is or whether it is Gervonta Davis having to hold off before his next pay-per-view ventures. Now, of course, you got fighters that are pay-per-view fighters, right? So, and there's definitely the ability to put on fights, right? And fights and then sell the rights to that in particular fight to an in particular network. But I think what Al Heyman is more than likely going to want to do is find a home for everything that he does, so that one event can feed off the other event, and they've got a network where they can consistently promote for that fight. My personal thing is, look, I don't really care where they wind up personally, because I don't get paid by the PBC, and I'm right. I understand what their interests are. My interests are to just see these really good fighters fight, and to see these guys fight much more often, and fight. And personally, I'm not somebody that says, look, man, the only fight I want to see is the absolute best fight that could be made in boxing. It's not really as important to me, man. Me personally, I would just as well have seen, I enjoyed the Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas fight a lot. I enjoyed the Errol Spence Jr. versus Lamont Peterson fight a lot. I just want to see these guys get in the ring, man. Now, if you're talking about guys like Jaron Ennis, who you're really looking to be able to even get a shot at a title, I definitely want to see him fight the guys that are in the upper echelon of the welterweight division. But not to the point where I don't want to see him. I only want to see him fight once a year, or maybe once every 15 months. I think with the PBC, hopefully that will change. And I know, as an advisor and a manager of Al Heyman, that particular role for him, that he's probably not going to hold these guys up, and he's going to allow these guys to go fight and get in situations where they can get fights. And if the PBC doesn't get a network deal, they might very well wind up fighting on other people's cards, if they can get the other networks' cards, if they can't get the deal done. But we'll see how it plays out. That news to me was kind of a little bit of a bummer. I'm hoping that they get this thing set real quick, but according to at least those two guys, doesn't look like it is set quite yet. That's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.